Hello and welcome to Oddspedia Bundesliga Matchday 33. We have a champion and Harry Kane has a title. Ronan Murphy. Things change. Good things finally arrive in life. You just have to be patient and choose wisely your options in the future.
Yeah, choose to be a Bayern Munich fan when you were a child and you will be rewarded with success year on year, it seems.
Someone says that winning a title with Bayern Munich is like what?
I don't think that's safe to say at this time in the day. Playing FIFA on easy mode, maybe we'll say.
Exactly. Let's leave it to your imagination, guys, and see what things are easy in life. But we have a title at a champion, Bayern Munich. We have a Harry Kane with his first trophy, but still plenty to analyze in the penultimate Bundesliga game match day. So we have the Champions League fight, we have the relegation fight, and we have Ronan Murphy to reply to your questions, to give you a lot of tips. So please like the video, subscribe. Let's go on now with the show. And we start with the game we have tonight, actually. On Friday, Wolfsburg, Hoffenheim. Hoffenheim is still in risk of relegation, 5 points above Heidenheim. They must be very lucky to go down, but still, they are in danger. Wolfsburg, nothing to play for. And they are in a terrible run. They lost to Dortmund 4-0, so it's only 1 point in the last 7 games. Hoffenheim 4-4 with Gladbach, and we are seeing a lot of goals in their games. So perhaps, Ronan, we can see goals tonight in Wolfsburg.
Yeah, that's the hope, I think. And I think that's what Wolfsburg themselves are hoping, that maybe this interim coach, the under-19 coach, has stepped up for the last 2 games, Daniel Bauer, to replace Ralf Hasenhüttl, who left by mutual consent, I think is what they were saying. But we all know after losing so many games, it's not very mutual. They wanted him out the door. So, yeah, Hasenhüttl's era is gone. Wolfsburg are now on the lookout for a new permanent manager. But for the last 2 games of the season, the under-19 coach is going to take over. So they'll be hoping for some sort of a new manager about. And like you said, Hoffenheim are looking to secure their place in the Bundesliga. They should, even if they lost both games, you would imagine they'll still stay up, because they are 9 goals better and 5 points better. So I think that there's a good chance they will stay up regardless of what happens. But a point should be enough. A win would definitely be enough tonight. So that's what they've been looking to do here. They have 𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐵 back in goal. He had concussion, so having him back should kind of help him keep goals out at least, and that should give them a better chance of getting points or getting a win. And Wolfsburg, they can't buy a win at the moment. They haven't won any match in the Bundesliga since March 1st. So, yeah, Hoffenheim, they'll be looking to bounce back from their kind of disappointing run of their own. They're winless in the last 3 games, but they've scored 2 or more goals in each of those games. So I think they can score goals here, and I think they can get at least a point. So I like the look of Hoffenheim 3-2 as we're seeing on the screen. But if you want to play it a bit safer than that, Hoffenheim draw no bet is 2-12.
Okay, well, let's jump into the games we have on Saturday. And first one is an important one. We have Kiel, Freiburg. Kiel still with hopes to stay in the Bundesliga after beating Augsburg last weekend. And before that, Gladbach. At home, they are not as good, and they are playing Dortmund away in the last game. So this is a must win for Kiel right now in direct relegation spots, 1 point away from Heidenheim. The problem for them is that this game is also very important for Freiburg. They are 4th, 1 point above Dortmund, and they are playing Eintracht Frankfurt in the last game, and they were this close to beat Leverkusen last weekend.
Yeah, we saw the usual Leverkusen, but it was to get a draw rather than a win to kind of like come back from Leverkusen. But I think Freiburg will be happy enough with a point in that match, and they kind of they're in control of their own destiny, and their own destiny maybe even this weekend, because if Frankfurt were to win, that would guarantee them the 3rd place in the Bundesliga. So then maybe Frankfurt next weekend could be on holidays and celebrating already, because they've guaranteed their Champions League spot. So this is a huge game for Freiburg to determine if they finish ahead of Dortmund and Leipzig, and it's a huge game as well because it's before Dortmund and Leipzig kick off, so they can put a lot of pressure on the other two teams by winning here. They're only a point ahead of Dortmund, 2 points ahead of Leipzig. Kiel, they need a miracle to avoid the bottom three. Like we said in the last match, it's a 9-goal swing, but Kiel need 6 points to kind of get out of the bottom three. They only need a point to get out of the bottom two, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these games play out in the next couple of weeks. And Freiburg they have the benefit of having their first choice goalkeeper 𝗛𝗏𝗿𝗏𝗀 back. He kept a lot of clean sheets earlier in the season. He was kind of setting records or co-setting records at the time for stopping goals and minutes without conceding goals. So he is a big boost for them to have back. 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏, on the other hand, he's a doubt for Kiel. He's been scoring a lot of goals for Kiel. He's got 11 Bundesliga goals this season. That's the third most from a Japanese player in Bundesliga history. So yeah, if he misses out in this one, that will be a big absence for Kiel. Kiel, like you said, they're 2 games unbeaten, but Freiburg are even better, 4 games unbeaten, 3 wins, and then they drew with Leverkusen, like you said. It was 3-2 to Freiburg in January. I think this can be a match where both teams can score. So both teams to score, yes, is 151. That could be a good option here. But even more, I think, because of what's at stake for Freiburg, and because Freiburg can qualify for the Champions League for the first time in their history, I think Freiburg can win this one. You would fancy them to win earlier in the season. You fancy them to beat the team in second last. Again, the team to beat that are 4 to beat the team in second last should be an obvious kind of one. So Freiburg win 2-16.
Great game. This one, very important one, is going to be interesting if Freiburg qualify for the Champions League, and we have Champions League at the Black Forest. The next game, Union Berlin, Heidenheim. This one is important for the visitor. Heidenheim in play-out spots, but only 1 point above Kiel. Still, if they win both games, with options to drag Hoffenheim or Pauli into the bottom 3, but they weren't able to beat Bochum. They drew in the last game, and be careful also because Union Berlin, they have nothing to play for, but they are in good form. They are ending kind of well the season, 4 consecutive draws and unbeaten in 8.
Yeah, I think Heidenheim, this match, before this match kicks off, they'll know whether Hoffenheim were able to pick up points, obviously, and whether they can climb out of that bottom 3, because Pauli got to be hard to kind of catch either. But yeah, they should kind of know what they have to do heading into this match, and they could easily be dragged into the bottom 2. Never mind move out of the bottom 3. They have the same goal difference as Kiel. They've only 1 point better, and they're playing a team that's difficult to score against in Union Berlin. Union can finish anywhere from 11th to 15th. So, yeah, it doesn't really matter for them. The season is over. But we thought that last week, and we thought that the couple of weeks before that, and they've still been producing draws. They've still been picking up points. So 8 games without a defeat is fantastic for them. But I think they'll be happy enough to keep the score down, as they usually do. That's the way Union Berlin are. And Heidenheim, they drew with Bochum last weekend, 0-0. This was a must-game win for Heidenheim, and they still couldn't score. I know they scored against Stuttgart the previous week, but it was only 1 goal. They only won 1-0. And these two teams are teams that usually don't play out high-scoring matches. They usually don't score a lot of goals themselves. Average goals for Union Berlin is 1.1. Heidenheim is even worse at exactly 1. So they're the second and third lowest scoring teams in the Bundesliga. Only Bochum have fewer goals, with 30 goals in the 32 games we've played so far. So yeah, Heidenheim, they don't score a lot of goals. Union Berlin don't concede a lot of goals. Union Berlin, I don't really care. I don't think they care if they win this one 1-0, lose this one 1-0, draw 0-0. I just don't think it's going to be a high scoring game for either team. So total goals under 2.5 I'm looking at, which is not a common tip for the Bundesliga, but there always are exceptions to the rule, and this one could be it.
And maybe the next one as well could be an under 2.5 goals. I'm talking about Bochum, Mainz. Bochum almost relegated. They are 4 points away from Heidenheim, and they are playing Pauli in the last game. So they must win both to have options to stay in the Bundesliga. But Mainz are also playing for Europe. They are falling in the table. We are saying this for a while. It looked like they were going to play even Champions League perhaps, or Europa League. But right now they are out because they haven't won in the last 7 games.
Yeah, neither of these teams have won their last 7 games, which is really disappointing. But I suppose that has to change sometime, or else never. Maybe they get a draw here, but I don't think so. I think Mainz are the stronger team, although they will be missing Danny 𝗏𝗏𝗏. He's out injured, and Mainz also announced on their social media feeds that Maurice Schentz is out for the rest of the season, and his injury is a nose injury, which seems a strange one to keep you out for multiple games, but that's what's happening. Yeah, he's not going to play in the last 2 games. But like you said, Mainz are still in with a chance of getting into Europe. They're just 2 points away from 6th place. If they had maybe picked up some points in the last 7 games, they would be in there. But they're kind of hoping against hope that they can make it at this time. Bochum will be relegated if they don't win. They're 4 points behind the playoffs. So yeah, this is a must-win game for Bochum, but doesn't really matter. Last week also was a must-win for Bochum, and they did nothing in that match. So yeah, Mainz win at 2.33. That looks pretty good because Mainz are a better team on paper. Bochum, they're going to be relegated either this week or next weekend, probably this weekend. Mainz have won 4 of the last 5 meetings these 2 teams have played. The other was a draw, but in each of those, they've scored 2 or more goals. So I think, although you were saying this could be an under 2.5 goal match, maybe it will be, and maybe Mainz will score exactly 2 goals. Because I really like to look at Mainz over 1.5 goals, because they can score, they just haven't been picking up points. Mainz over 1.5 goals.
James is going for a draw in this game, which wouldn't be good for either side, actually. It would be negative for Bochum, for sure. They will go to Bundesliga 2, and probably for Mainz, also dropping from European spots. For the European spots are fighting Werder Bremen and RB Leipzig. Leipzig, despite the draw against Bayern Munich, it looks like they are not going to qualify for the Champions League next season. No wins in the last 3 games, and they finish with Stuttgart, and they are 2 points below Freiburg at the moment, and it's not easy to go to Bremen right now. They are in good streak at the moment, and they have still options to qualify for Europe.
Yeah, well, Bremen 6 games unbeaten. They could still make Europe. They're only 3 points behind Leipzig, so yeah, there's a good chance they could be find themselves in Europe this next season if they were to win this match. And Leipzig, they on the other hand, they could make the Champions League, like we said, but they could miss out on Europe entirely. They could end up finishing outside of Europe. They're 2 points behind Freiburg, but they could find themselves caught by teams like Werder Bremen. So it wouldn't be surprised if they were to slip up here. And this is such a crucial match for both teams that both teams need to score lots of goals. Leipzig are 3 games without a win. They drew 3-3 with Bayern Munich, obviously, last weekend after losing 4-0 to Frankfurt. So they're conceding lots of goals at the moment, which isn't kind of what we expect from Leipzig teams. We expect them to score lots of goals rather than concede lots. But yeah, the match earlier this season as well was another high-scoring affair. It was 4-2 to Leipzig between these 2 teams. So yeah, this is a match that I'm expecting both teams to be putting their all into, put everything into, and be able to. Unlike maybe some of the matches we mentioned earlier that I think could be low-scoring affairs, this one I don't think so. I think this is probably the pick of the matches of the Sunday afternoon kickoffs. Both teams to score, yes, looks good at 150. But if you look at the total goal stats for both these teams as they played this season, total goals over 3.5 has happened 44% of the time for both teams, exactly 44% each, and total goals over 2.5, so we split in the middle, that's 64% and 60% for these 2 teams. So over 3 goals exactly is 187. So make sure if you do bet on over 3 goals, you get your money back at the particular bookmakers. Not all bookmakers offer it.
Yeah, it looks like a game with goals, and everyone agrees here. We have 𝗵𝗏𝗏 also, both teams to score, and 𝗵𝗏𝗏 fix, both teams to score, and over 2.5 goals. Konstantinos, Leipzig, double chance, and both teams to score. So difficult this season to trust Leipzig. So many bets lost because Leipzig are so inconsistent this season, despite the good players they have in the roster. And later on Saturday, we have Bayern Munich, Gladbach, nothing on stake here. Probably a party for Bayern Munich to celebrate the title, first trophy for Kompany as a manager, for Harry Kane, as we mentioned before. Unfortunately, also for them, they couldn't celebrate in the pitch against Leipzig with that late goal scored in the last minute, even with Harry Kane on the pitch. But the day after they won the trophy when Leverkusen dropped points. So congratulations to Bayern Munich. Perhaps it's not the most brilliant season when you only win the Bundesliga and you are Bayern Munich, but still, it's a trophy, and last season they didn't win the Bundesliga for this game. Ronan, perhaps we see many goals, no? Because Gladbach, they are ending the season quite poorly and they are conceding so many goals.
Yeah, I think Bayern Munich didn't have a chance to have a party last weekend because the kind of title was decided a day after when they weren't playing. So yeah, they could usually, when we see Bayern Munich party, it's on the pitch as well as off the pitch, and this will be Thomas Muller's last home game for Bayern Munich as well. So that could be another reason to party. And I had a look before. Sorry to our producer Daniel that I didn't email this in, but I had a look before because Fitz and Company said this morning that he's not giving them much away, but he was kind of hinting that Muller will start. So him to score anytime is 2.38 if you're interested in him signing off his Bundesliga career and his Bayern Munich career at home with a goal. But yeah, Gladbach, they still have a slim chance of Europe. They're 4 points behind sixth, but I don't think they're going to make it, and I think Bayern Munich will ensure that this weekend. Tim Kleindienst has been brilliant for Borussia Mönchengladbach this season, 16 Bundesliga goals. He could not have done much more for them. He's the best Gladbach debut season since 1979, 1980. So, yeah, Borussia Mönchengladbach, they just weren't very good at the back this season. That's going to cost them. Bayern Munich, on the other hand, they don't concede early goals in matches. Interesting stat I saw that Benjamin Sesko, he is the only player to score in the first 15 minutes of a game against Bayern Munich this season in the Bundesliga, and he's done it twice. So yeah, don't expect Bayern Munich to concede early in this one, and maybe expect them to score. Gladbach have plenty of injuries. They have extra injury doubts heading into this game. 𝗀𝗵𝗻, Friedrich and Alassane Plea are all doubts, as well as the long injury list they have already. Bayern Munich, Vincent Company said he wasn't going to use the under-19 players because they're in the semi-final this weekend, so he's not going to use the young players. So you will see senior players still, even though they've won the Bundesliga already. But Kim is going to be rested because he's been rested for the Club World Cup. They have that to look forward to in the summer. But still, I think Bayern Munich are going to play a strong side. Bayern Munich have had 3 or more total match goals in their last 8 games in all competitions. They've had scored 3 or more total goals themselves in 6 of their last Bundesliga games. So I think it's going to be a party for Bayern Munich, and they're going to score themselves over 3.5 goals in this.
Indeed, plenty of goals probably in here. Penchev, Bayern to win and over, 2.5 goals, and both teams to score. Also, someone is mentioning Musiala to score, another option for.
I don't think so. He's injured.
Do not bet to get fixed.
Yeah. They will say they will hope he'll be back for the Club World Cup. Yeah,
that's a bad idea. 3 games on Sunday. First one, Leverkusen Dortmund. Here, I guess also we should expect many goals. Probably it's going to be Xabi Alonso's farewell as well as Leverkusen manager. He is going to leave to Real Madrid, and overall, I guess it was a great season for Leverkusen. The only thing was the cup. They should have played the final, but they lost to Bielefeld in the semifinals. In the Bundesliga, I think still being runners-up with these points is brilliant. And in the Champions League, they were also good. And now the important game is for Dortmund trying to qualify for the Champions League. They are in an amazing run, and they are only 1 point behind Freiburg. They finished the season with Kiel at home. So this is the toughest game, and they must win.
Yeah, I think Dortmund are in great form at the moment, and Leverkusen, they, like we said last week, they kind of have their mind on other things. And you think if last season had have happened, this would have been a fantastic season for Leverkusen. They would have been delighted with second. They would have been delighted to get far in Europe in the Champions League, to get to the semi-finals of the Cup. It's just the kind of levels that they've set for themselves recently are higher than they've ever been before. They're kind of putting themselves in a higher level, of kind of a challenger level, which they weren't probably even back in the 90s when they had such a good squad. They weren't even then. So yeah, this Leverkusen season they'll look back on it as a successful season despite getting no trophies at the end of the day. And Xabi Alonso's career, this will be the end of it, and it'll be his last home game for Bayer Leverkusen. So there's a report from Sky Germany coming out this morning. We obviously knew it was going to happen, but that it should be made official, this move to Real Madrid. It should be made official very soon. So yeah, expect the news to kind of come out very soon. So Dortmund, they're in brilliant form. They've the best form in the last 6 match days in the Bundesliga. They've only dropped 2 points. They haven't lost any of those matches. 16 points from 18. Leverkusen are guaranteed second. Nothing is going to change regardless of the outcome of this match. So Dortmund, this is their match to decide what happens here. They can finish anywhere between 3rd and 9th. So they can really miss out on Europe. So yeah, they've got to make sure they win this one to have any chance. And 𝗵𝐿, he will be a key part of that, as he usually is. He's only the 2nd player in Bundesliga history to score 18 or more Bundesliga goals in 2 successive seasons for 2 different teams. After he did it with Stuttgart last season, he did it with Borussia Dortmund this season. And 𝗵𝐿𝐿𝐿 did it back for Dortmund and 1860 Munich in the 1960s, if you remember back that far. And neither of us did. Maybe some of our commenters do, but yeah, neither of us did. Most common result in this match is a 1-1, and 8 of the last 10 meetings were both teams to score yes. So both teams to score yes looks pretty good at 146. It was a 3-2 to Leverkusen earlier this season, but obviously Leverkusen have nothing to play for, like I said. So I'm going to have a look at Dortmund to win and both teams to score yes. Could combine it there. It's 360, but perhaps a little safer is Dortmund to win, because Dortmund need to win, and Dortmund have been in excellent form recently, so there's no reason to think that they can't win this one.
Yeah, Konstantinos is also going for Dortmund. In this case, double chance. 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗋 is the opposite. I can't trust Dortmund. Leverkusen draw, no bet, and Bandas going for both teams to score. Also, the Spanish newspaper Marca announced today or published today that Xabi Alonso will join Real Madrid at the end of the season, like everyone else expected. 2 more games. Frankfurt, St. Pauli. Frankfurt almost with the Champions League spot. If they win here, they will play Champions League football again next season, which is a huge success for Frankfurt. Also, they did a good run in the Europa League, so cheers to them. Great season, even losing Marmoush in winter. And St. Pauli is still not mathematically safe, almost, Ronan, but they lost to Stuttgart, and they are still with a bit of danger.
Yeah, I think the thing for this is they're not safe today on Friday when we're recording this, but by the time the match kicks off on Sunday, they could be safe, and they could already be in party mode, because yeah, they could have determined that they're going to stay in the Bundesliga, and that's a huge achievement for St. Pauli, because as we know, they don't spend the same amount of money as a lot of other clubs do, as some of the bigger clubs who come up, maybe the likes of Hamburg, if they were to come up again, they obviously spend big money. But when Stuttgart came up, we've seen them spend big money, and it paid off with them returning to Champions League. So yeah, St. Pauli, they deserve a lot of credit for how they've battled in the Bundesliga, the points they've picked up, the points they picked up on the road especially. But I think if things go their way on Saturday, this match, it's going to be somewhat of an afterthought. And Frankfurt, like we said earlier, a win would guarantee them the Champions League. So this is going to be a big game for them. They could even earn the Champions League spot before this match kicks off, if 2 of Freiburg, Leipzig and Dortmund fail to win. But this is a big match for them. You would imagine 2 of them will probably win, or 2 of them could win, and that means they still have to win this one. So that should be a good chance for them to pick up 3 points here against a team that could be on the beach already. Their goalkeeper suspended for St. Pauli. He was sent off last week. That's Hill. So he'll be a big absence for them, not having their goalkeeper. Frankfurt won 1-0 earlier this season. I think they'll be happy enough to win 1-0 again on Sunday. They've only conceded 1 goal in their last 4 Bundesliga games. They have 4 clean sheets in their last 6 games. And St. Pauli, they haven't scored a lot of goals this season, only 0.8 goals per game in all competitions. So Eintracht Frankfurt clean sheet looks like a good option here, 2.38. Because if Frankfurt have qualified for the Champions League before this match kicks off, and St. Pauli have guaranteed their place in the Bundesliga, who wants to score? They don't need any goals. It's grand. Whatever happens, happens.
Well, Constantinos Frankfurt to win and under 3.5 goals. Frankfurt to score over 1.5 goals. So it must be a 2-0, and everyone is right in the comments, apart from 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗀, who is going for both teams to score for this game. And if you think or you say that by the time of kickoff, there might be nothing to play for in the Frankfurt-St. Pauli in this one, on Friday, there is nothing to play for Sunday. Stuttgart, Augsburg, absolutely nothing to play for. Irrelevant, two teams in the middle of the table. Augsburg in bad form, and Stuttgart was in bad form until they won last week.
Yeah, this is 10th versus 11th. That's what it is. Stuttgart can technically finish in the top 6, but probably not by the time this game starts. So you're probably looking for them to be looking at 8th place at best. So what's the difference between 8th and 10th, really? It's a few million to the owners, but maybe not necessarily for the players. I don't think it makes a huge difference. Both teams can't go any lower than 14th in the table. So this is the definition of a nothing match with two mid-table clubs playing out the end of the season. The last 3 games were 1-0 wins for Stuttgart. The game before that was a 3-0 win for Stuttgart. I think this could be another match where we don't see a lot of goals. Augsburg, we haven't seen lots of goals in many of their games. A draw at 4.78 could be a good option here. But I haven't said a correct score tip for this episode yet, and we got one pretty good last week. It's coming in at 10, so I'm going to go even bigger and make a correct score tip. That's 21 and 0-0 in this match. This has 0-0 written all over it. Who cares about this match? Do the players themselves even care? Would they be happy to just run around for 90 minutes, go home, job done? We'll move on to next season already. Both teams to score, no. It's probably a bit safer at 2.31 if you don't want to go for that 0-0 at 21.
Well, I wouldn't recommend to stay tuned on this game, but perhaps why not play some bets, and these both teams to score 2.3 pays really well. Well, guys, this is it for this show. Just remember that we have our tipster competitions available for you. It's completely free to participate, and you can win up to $1,000 thanks to Oddspedia. And also we have Rivals, where you can create your competitions and play with your friends. There you go. You can see it now in the screen. We have the European ones, a lot of different tournaments created by our users. So just do it if you feel like doing it. This is it, Ronan. Only one show left next week before we have actually international games, before we have the World Cup for clubs. But let's try to. Still, we will be around. Don't worry. And next thing to know is your safe bet.
My safe bet this week, I'm going for Leverkusen Dortmund over 1.25 first half goals at 1.48.
Asian line here, and your ACCA?
Yeah, you didn't praise my amazing safe bet last week. You said it was risky. I predicted that Kiel would Asian handicap plus 1.5, but they could have won on Asian handicap minus 1.5. They won by that much. Yeah, it was the riskiest of safe bets, but it worked out well. We'll hope that the ACCA this week can be just as successful. So a Freiburg win at 2.16 and Bremen Leipzig over 2.5 goals. It's 3.37.
All right, Penchef is asking us if we are going to have any summer episodes. Actually, we don't know. Hopefully, we do at least the World Cup clubs. And let's see, there are no football competitions apart from that until the start of the new season, since the players need to rest a little bit. It's still been a really long season, this one. Well, guys, thank you. Thank you, Ronan. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.